Welcome to Season 5 of the Willing Equine podcast, the podcast all about creating positive relationships between horses and people. I'm your host, Adele Shaw, a certified equine behavior consultant, horsemanship mentor, and all-around horse lover. All right, let's dive back in to some of the things that you guys told me are holding you back or have in the past held you back from trying R+, trying positive reinforcement. One of the first things that was mentioned was lack of knowledge and the fear of getting it wrong. This is something that holds a lot of people back from trying something new, regardless of what it is, whether it's just horse training in general. Maybe it's about, like for me, for example, I'm learning a little bit more about barefoot trimming, and something that has really held me back from pursuing trimming my own horses is that fear of getting it wrong and the lack of knowledge in that area. But something that I've really been trying to remind myself of is I will never just randomly one day wake up with the knowledge, right? And everybody's going to get it wrong. Everybody gets it wrong. Even the best barefoot trimmers in the world get it wrong at some point, or did in the earlier days for sure get it wrong. And this is also the benefit of having coaching along with the process, which is one of the reasons, how I've encouraged myself to start practicing and to start working on learning how to barefoot trim is I have found a really good coach or somebody who trims that is willing to help me learn how to trim my own horses. And that has been really helpful, as well as some online courses and reading material and different, I don't plan on ever becoming a professional barefoot trimmer. I just want to be able to trim my own horses, at least in between when I have the professional coming out. And there's a lot of different ways that I can support my own learning journey and help myself move forward and get out of that paralysis of not being able to do it because I don't know what I'm doing and worried about getting it wrong, while also being able to actually start doing the thing. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you have a lack of knowledge, so you won't go do the thing, but then you can only get that knowledge by starting to do the thing. And so you get paralyzed in that cycle. And this is where having a coach, having somebody to support you and educate you and catch those little errors and prevent, bigger issues from showing up, and can help encourage you too. That's a big role of a coach, is not just pointing out the things you're doing wrong, but being able to encourage you and to push you forward and to help you grow as a learner in that area. That will really help move past that lack of knowledge paralysis and that that fear of getting it wrong. So this is something that shows up in every area of life in general, and definitely in a lot of areas of horses. When it comes to training with positive reinforcement, the same thing applies. Having a good education, so starting that process of moving forward, because you will never get the knowledge just randomly one day. And you will make mistakes. And so kind of embracing that understanding of that mistakes are part of the learning process. And it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes give you an opportunity to try again with new information. So being aware of those things, and then having somebody, a coach, somebody you can trust, or a program that you can follow to help encourage you and guide you forward, and to catch those little errors in the beginning that could turn into those really big errors, those really big mistakes that'll be harder to fix later, is going to be really important for that process. And then having a community too, to go alongside of you, to just be there with you, and to be people that can celebrate your successes with you, while also being encouraging to push you forward so you can keep learning and keep growing and keep trying things. And then also can be people to support you even when mistakes happen, when things happen, and they can come alongside of you and be like, yeah, I made that mistake too, and here's what I did. Or, maybe not even like, here's advice. It's just, yes, I made that mistake too, and we're here for you. We want to listen. We want to support you and be that community for you. That is such a critical aspect to being able to try anything new in a productive and healthy way, in a way that is going to facilitate you going far in that area, and to feel confident and to be able to do it successfully, to do it well. So having the coach, having in the community, and then of course having that education, just taking those first steps forward to start researching, start reading, start watching the videos, and it doesn't have to cost anything. There's so much that's freely available on the internet. Even on my social media alone. Well, actually, I'll just talk about some of the things that I have available for you guys that are listening. So I have, of course, my Instagram, which has been running since like 2014 or 15, I think. And I have been posting free educational content on there, videos and tips and advice and some of my mistakes and learning curves and all of that since at least it was started before. It was started in like 2016 and then it went professional in 2017. But if you really, you don't want to pay for a structured program, but you need, maybe it's just you're not ready for it yet. You will eventually, or maybe you just don't ever want to. That's fine too. You could spend a bunch of time scrolling through my old social media content and probably, at least get a really solid understanding of what positive reinforcement is and some of the major mistakes that I see people make and how to avoid a lot of those and how to support your horse in a lot of ways. So there's a lot of free resources there. There's also a tremendous amount of resources on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel as well where I share different free resources. A lot of it is older content at this point. I haven't been updating with new YouTube videos because I've been focused on my other stuff, but there is still stuff up there that's really valuable. I also have my blog, which has just tons of articles at this point and there's even a full article about starting positive reinforcement, although it is a little bit of a legacy post at this point, meaning that the information isn't 100% like my newest stuff, but it's still very applicable. It's a good place to start. And I know there's a lot of other trainers out there as well that have good free starter stuff. I also have an extensive FAQ page and resources page, and that you could just spend hours and hours and hours reading through all the resources, reading through the FAQ, and get a really good understanding of how to avoid some mistakes and how to get a good start. And then, of course, I have this podcast, which has a lot of free educational content on it. And this is just my stuff. There's also other trainers that are fantastic trainers that have tons of free resources out there that are readily available on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, their blog, their website, Instagram, podcasts. There's other podcasts out there. And so there's so much amazing content out there if you really want to go look for it and not pay for anything. And then, of course, there's some really great books that are out there as well that I have some of them linked on my resources page on my website if you want to check those out. And those would be a good place to start as well. There's also a lot of like intro to clicker training, positive reinforcement courses out there that are available too. If the information is just so accessible and then there's actually a really growing number of coaches that are available too, long distance or maybe even locally to you. And the number is growing. Every week I'm seeing a new trainer pop up that has been mentored or coached by this person or that person and has been doing their journey since, whatever year, and they're starting to offer lessons in their area. And so the numbers are growing, and then a lot of these coaches are offering communities along with their coaching program, which is fantastic. So, and all of this is just to talk about, it's not just me. I'm not just promoting what I've got. There's so much out there, and there's a bunch of different techniques, a bunch of different ways of doing it. I have my kind of techniques, my methods, my way of doing, incorporating positive reinforcement into training and how I utilize positive reinforcement. But then you've also got, another trainer who's been doing this for a while too, that they have a different take on it. It's still positive reinforcement. It's just a different way of applying it. And so maybe they're the best coach for you and they have a community that's maybe local to you. That would be fantastic. And so there's just a lot of really great resources out there and communities out there that can help you move forward. One of the really big benefits about like my community, which is the Academy, one of the really cool things about the Academy community is that everybody is pretty much on the same page. We all do things a little bit differently. Everybody's coming from a different path in life and has, different goals for their training, and they're bringing different learning histories to the table. Maybe they went through a couple different courses before they came to my stuff, or Maybe they still take dressage lessons with their traditional trainer on the side, and they just do this stuff on the side. And maybe they've mentored with me, or maybe they're in-person students to me, like meaning local to me, or they've been working with me for, forever. It seems like long distance, which I have many students like that. And so everybody comes to the community from a different place, but we all have the same mission, the same ideas around our understanding, or we have our same belief system around how we take care of our horses, how we support our horses, and what our general overall kind of goals and mission are. And so this can help create a really solid foundation for a healthy, balanced community where we celebrate differences and we encourage differences of opinion, but within the same, or I should say, everybody still has the same goals, the same overall mission, the same kind of way they want to move forward interacting with their horses. And that helps create just a healthier community that is there to support each other. And it's not just about dropping opinions here and there. It's about coming alongside of each other and encouraging and celebrating and providing feedback. And then also there's also a little bit more structure to communities like that, because like we have certain things that we do where feedback is only allowed to be given if the person who posted in the community requests the feedback. And so stuff like that can really help create a healthier dynamic and a healthier community. And then what's really cool is that we do in-person stuff too. And we gather together once or twice a year and do academy workshops where everybody comes in. And not everybody, but just, whoever can make it kind of thing. We do in-person workshops at my place. And I hope to do more in different areas of the world, of the country too. And different communities are set up in different ways. And this is just how mine is. And I really do think that is such a critical aspect to being able to move forward with learning something new and not become paralyzed by that fear that we're going to get something wrong and that we have to be perfect and we have to get it right away, and that it's okay that we don't know everything. We will never know everything. We will never be perfect. It will never be 100%. We will constantly be evolving and learning and doing something new and changing different things as we know more, do better kind of thing. And this is why I'm always trying to remind myself, and I try and remind my students too, it's progress, not perfection. And this ties into a couple of different things that were brought up in what was holding people back from trying R+, trying positive reinforcement. One of them was that there's a lack of in-person trainers for in-person coaching and like-minded equestrians in the area. And this is really important. And I wish I could make it so that everybody had a coach down the road from them that taught exactly the way they want to be taught. And, we had a personality match, the methodology matched, the coaching experience level matched, like everything matched up. And so you had an easily accessible in-person coach in your area. I wish that was possible for everybody. But even when it comes to traditional training or any other type of training, ideology and all that, it's not necessarily the case. There's usually very few instructors in the area that are very horse-centered and that are just going to align with you 100%. I know a couple of people that they travel like 2 to 3 hours to get to their coach. So they load up their horses into a trailer and travel 2 to 3 hours once or twice a month to go to their instructors that they have found. They've been through a lot of them and trying to find somebody that really aligns with everything that they believe and what they want and the goals they're trying to achieve and all that. And they finally found one, but it's a couple hours away. And so they travel to that coach. And I know myself, I have traveled, over an hour. I've traveled up to 2.5 hours to get to students, not on a regular basis, but just for in-person as much as I can. I try and offer that. I know another person too, where that coach, that she worked with, it was, I think, a 3-hour commute and it was just a one-time thing. But this is not just for the positive reinforcement community, but it is something that is even more difficult when it comes to positive reinforcement clicker training, because the number of available coaches is even smaller, because it's still a growing way of instructing, of training horses. And there is a limited number of people who currently train this way, and then of course have reached a professional level, should that be their goal, where they can then turn around and teach other people. It's just a very restricted number, which is one of the beautiful things about online training. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's not ideal for everybody. However, the technology has really advanced in the last couple of years, and I know that, I have a lot of students, even some of my local students, who do online coaching with me. So even if they're within 30 minutes to an hour drive of me, it is easier for us to schedule, and it makes it more feasible for me to be home with my kids and to work with more people, which then helps, spread my efforts around and maximize my time, and makes it more scalable as well. So I can help more horses and more people if I can do more virtual coaching. And then for my program, I also do a hybrid with courses. So I have courses available that I use like a syllabus, like it's your lessons, it's the course. It's the lesson program you're following. And then the coaching is me helping you implement everything that you learn from the online resources. And it all works together. It's all compatible, and it's just a hybrid program. And even for my in-person students, it's the same thing. We do the same thing where they go through my online materials, and then we do our in-person lessons once a month or whatever it is, or we do it virtually. And again, I've even had my close clients do virtual lessons with me, and we do it real time through Zoom, where, and it's really easy to do. And there's different technical equipment you can set up, different programs you can use. Every coach is going to have a little bit different setup, but there are coaches out there that are doing it like me, where it can be real time, like your coach is standing right there. There's actually very little difference between when I'm there standing ringside with my student versus when I'm over the phone with my student. And you don't even have to have a bunch of fancy tech. You need a smartphone. You need some Bluetooth headphones, which are everywhere and really affordable. And then you either need cell service or internet connection and everything. I mean, that's it. And you can have a real time, real feedback, very little delay, if any, conversation and coaching session with your coach. And it's really such a beautiful, amazing thing that we now have access to, that allows you to work with any coach anywhere in the world, really, for the most part. And so you don't have to be limited to just the person that's down the road from you. And I know it can feel so weird at first. And it's like, how could this possibly be as effective as having somebody here with me? To me, if you have a really good instructor, a really good coach, first of all, you should be doing most of the stuff yourself, hands-on. If your coach is really having to step in there and doing lots of hands-on, depending on the situation, that depends a lot. But in a lot of cases, they shouldn't be doing the majority of the hands-on. They should be coaching you through doing the hands-on, so that when they are not there, you can still do the thing. So with that being said, it's very easy to see how we could do this virtually, because if the trainer is not having to step into the arena and do all of the hands-on, and then they hand you the horse that now can do the thing, but instead are coaching you through each and every step and empowering you to be able to do it on your own through skilled verbal communication and demonstrations and things like that, and via like the coaching, video libraries or courses or whatever, then you should be able to very easily be able to have a virtual lesson like that and be able to get the information you need, the real-time feedback, and then feel empowered and very capable to go there then and do the training on your own without your instructor there. So I understand how not having an in-person trainer can feel very limiting and feel like it's holding you back from being able to try something, because you're going to feel more confident doing what you're familiar with, having somebody there coaching you. But I want you to know that if this is a thing that is holding you back, that there are so many ways. If you find a good coach and with a good program, it's very effective. It's a very effective approach. It's very possible to be able to successfully train with positive reinforcement, even if you're a complete beginner from across the world from your trainer, as long as they are very skilled in virtual coaching. You are dedicated to following the program and scheduling your in-person lessons and doing them, and then doing your homework in between. And then especially if they have a good supportive library or course or program to complement the in-person lessons. So it is not something that needs to be holding you back. And I understand why, because we're not used to that. That's not how we grew up. I mean, I certainly didn't. I went down the road to my barn twice a week for lessons, sometimes 3 times a week for lessons. And then I did my riding in between. And we were all used to having our in-person instructors. But things are changing. And I think it's a really cool thing because we have so much more access to the types of instructors and coaches we want to be working with. And we can learn so much more than we used to be able to. We were so limited to who was just available to us nearby. So I think this is really cool and a really cool change that I'm very thankful to have. And I encourage you guys to give it a try if you haven't already, so that you don't feel held back from being able to try positive reinforcement. Another thing that was brought up as something that was holding people back from trying positive reinforcement was a lack of really engaging, teachable, and accessible content and gatekeeping the information online. I guess I have a different perspective on this because I feel like there is a tremendous amount of information available. I mean, you could learn everything you need to know through free, accessible information online with positive reinforcement. You just have to know where to look, and you just have to be willing to sift through all the stuff that is not helpful. Of course, when coaches such as myself put together very structured programs that we have spent our, entire professional careers preparing for, basically. So we've spent tons of time. We've done so much educational training. We've gone to our own clinics, taken our own courses. We get certifications. We go to webinars and conferences and workshops and clinics and work with this trainer, work with that trainer, and read this book. And I mean, we just spend countless hours learning our trade. And then we turn around and practice all of that. So we learn about how to do it. Then we practice. Then we put all of the effort into applying it to our students and getting feedback from them, and applying it to the horses we're working with and getting feedback from them, and going through this process for years and years and years. And then we go and say, okay, well, now we're going to create a course or a video library or a membership or whatever it is that is structured, that is a place for all of this information to be organized and in a way that is concise and available to the public, so that they don't have to do all the trial and error that we did, so that they don't have to spend countless hours and just endless hours of clinics and workshops and book reading and practicing with horse after horse after horse after horse after horse, and student after student after student, and ourselves as well. And so we're going to bring all of that information together and put it together. We're going to put the time and the effort into recording all of the content, not to mention all the time it takes to prepare for it, and sometimes all of buying all of the equipment as well. If you're doing it kind of DIY like I do for myself, I record, edit, and do the audio and everything for all of my own content. Like, I don't pay anybody to do any of that for my courses so far. And so I had to learn how to do all of that, and then had to buy all the equipment to be able to do that, and then have to go out there and do it. And then I have to bring it back into my office, and I have to spend seemingly countless hours editing all of it and structuring it and formatting it, and then putting it all together into this concise package that is designed specifically to maximize the client's time and to leverage all of that in the amazing online platforms that we have available to us, and just, setting our students up for success in that online learning atmosphere, so that they can go out and actually apply it. And then we provide the coaching to go along with it. That is going to cost because of what you're paying for. You are paying for not just for us to take, 5 hours of video. It's so tempting to look at those courses and be like, oh, I'm buying 5 hours of video. I should just go take 5 lessons with them. That would, whatever. Then it'd be personalized to me. That's not what you're buying. You're not buying that. You're buying all of that instructor's time and experience and their practice, their trial and error, their effort, their blood, sweat, and tears, basically. Not just in horse training, but also being able to turn that around and teach people to do that same thing. And so, yes, some of these courses do cost. And this tied into another one that somebody brought up, which was cost and convenience. That was holding them back. And it does cost. It does cost to be able to buy those programs. And some of them are pricey. And some of them do take some time to save up for. And, if you're buying a program though from a really good instructor that you feel you align with and you feel that they are really, just any of their content you've seen, their free content that you've seen, all of their blogs and podcasts and YouTube videos and Instagram posts, or even their clinic. When you went to their clinic, you're just like, yes, I love all of this. Exactly. I want to learn more. And you really like their teaching style and you just seem to really match up with everything. It's worth it. It's worth it to really invest, because what you're investing in that course, if you really put effort into absorbing that information and going out and applying it, you actually are saving yourself a lot of money. Because this is the other thing I tell people. For me to go through, I'm just going to take one of my new courses. I'll take, what was originally my foundation course that many of you guys have probably gone through or have heard of at least, has now been restructured. I've updated it into 3 different ones, and it's Foundations of Trust, Foundations of Cooperation, and Foundations of Consideration. And I reformatted them to make them more accessible. So you're not buying just one giant course, you're buying 3 that are split up. And then also I redid some of the content to be more concise, more digestible, and with updated training practices too. So it's just some of the things that I've been learning about more recently. I wanted to bring that into the courses. I wanted to bring that information to you guys and make it available to you. So I'm updating my training constantly and how I apply it, and then also how I actually communicate it and turn around and teach people about it. So I wanted to bring that to my courses. And so, for somebody to be able to, like if I were to go and do one-on-one lessons with somebody, in person or virtually, doesn't matter, and be able to cover everything that is covered in Foundations of Trust, Foundations of Cooperation, and Foundations of Consideration, and let's say we did 1 lesson a week, you would spend exponentially more money doing lessons and for me to convey all of that information to you on a weekly basis, just directly to you, it would cost you so much more than to go through that course material and then get some supplemental lessons to go with it, to customize the learning to you and to help troubleshoot anything and to make sure that you guys are staying on track, and even just as motivation so that you have something, I've got a lesson in 2 weeks, I should be practicing kind of thing. So it would cost so much more to do the in-person lessons. Also, it would take much, much longer because you would be getting bite-sized pieces of information through each lesson, versus if you have the course material, you can cruise along. You can look at where we're going. You can look at how it's going to look like. You can see those visual examples. You can see what it looks like with a more experienced horse and all of that. And so you know where you're going, all of this information ahead of time. And then you're going back and taking it to your horse and then helping your horse to understand too. And so it actually speeds up the training process. It speeds up your education as well. Of course, I still encourage the one-on-one coaching or video feedback too, like when you record a session and send it to your coach, and then they provide you the feedback on that. Like, okay, let's adjust this. Let's try that. This was perfect. That was amazing. Great. What about this? All that stuff that would work as well. Getting that supplemental coaching along with your course material, I think, is incredibly important. You can't just rely on going through a course. But I wanted to bring this up as just helping put into perspective that yes, some of these courses are quite expensive, and I can understand how that can be very, it just takes, it's a big investment. It's a big investment, time-wise, energy-wise, mental capacity too, just putting the effort and energy into it, and then financially. And sometimes it's not doable. And I 100% understand that. However, I don't want there to be this perception of it's worth it. It's worth it, you guys. It's worth it to go through. I wish so much that I had these courses like the ones that I've made, or some of the other instructors that I know, coaches that I know that are doing amazing programs. I wish I'd had that available when I started my positive reinforcement journey with my horses. There was not, and none of these courses were available. Not a single one. I had a couple of books that were, they're now quite outdated as far as the training goes. They weren't all positive reinforcement. They were, negative reinforcement with the cherry on top kind of thing, like I've talked about in different episodes. And there were a couple of YouTube videos, just very few. There was probably like 10 at most. I think I only remember like 4 or 5. YouTube videos available with horses. Most of the stuff was available on dogs and other species. And there were no courses available. There were some DVDs you could rent. And that's it. And there was 0 people in person that would coach. 0. In my area, but definitely even around the world and in the country, there was still only a handful at most. There were very few Facebook groups. I think there was like 1 or 2 Facebook groups available. And very few blog articles, very few social media accounts. I'm kind of dating myself, but I just want to express how much things have changed. And the fact that we have these courses available, you should take advantage of them, embrace them, love them, use them. It is such a valuable resource that makes this information very accessible. And so this is where I'm going to go back to, I have a differing opinion on how accessible this information is. Maybe it's based on the fact that when I started, it was way, way less accessible than it is now. So to me, everything feels so much more accessible, and I'm so excited for that. I am so eager to see where things go. Actually, that was one of the reasons that I started my website and why I created my resources page and my FAQ page and my blog and all that. When I started my website and created all those resources, they were one of a kind. There was almost no other websites doing that for horses. I think there was like 1 at the time. And, it was such a rare thing, and now there's so much more available. And so I just want to impart upon you guys. I want to share with you guys that, I guess I'll sum this up. 1, everything is out there for free if you want, and you want to do the digging, and you really want to spend the time doing it, and you want to research and sift through all the information, and also realize that you're going to get conflicting opinions. You're going to see some back and forth. You're probably going to see some arguments. It's just not going to be this. There's not just one way of doing this. And that's something else that might be contributing to this impression that there's a lack of accessibility, or maybe this is holding some people back. There is no one way to train with positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is not a method. It is not natural horsemanship, or even natural horsemanship has methods within, but there's not just one way of doing it. Every coach, every instructor has their method, their approach to using positive reinforcement. So if you're going to do your own research in your own, going through the free resources and try it out on your own and kind of trial and error it, which is how I did it to begin with. And I kind of wish I hadn't, to be honest, but it's how I did it, and that's fine. It is possible. It is a thing. I kind of had to. That was really, it's not that I chose to do it that way. I really kind of had to. So if you're going to go about it that way, just realize that you are going to trial and error more. and you're going to see more conflicting opinions, and you're going to run into more issues that you're going to need support with. If, however, you want support and coaching and you want a streamlined, accessible, and structured program, and you want that information provided to you, you want to be coached along the way, find a trainer, find an instructor, either by, really doing your homework on their social media and their free resources, maybe starting off with a smaller course that they offer, maybe going to a clinic that they offer. Start small and see if you align with them. See if everything sounds good. See if you like what they're offering, and if you are liking what you see in the horses and in their students and in their own training. And then stick with that. Go forward with that and be consistent. And you can always change later. I'm not saying you're stuck with that forever, but stay on track for a while, and then change later if you need to. But there's so much out there, you guys. It's super accessible, and there's lots of great courses. There's more popping up on a day-to-day basis. There's even some virtual shows that are showing up with positive reinforcement, which is really cool too. So I think it's accessible. And so I'm going to have to disagree, I guess, at the end of the day, that the information is not readily accessible, and that it's gate kept. It's definitely not gate kept. There's so much available. It's like an unbelievable amount of information is available if you know where to look and how to look for it. Thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions, please do email me at info@thewillingequine.com. If you'd like more information on my courses, coaching, consulting, or even access to free resources, please do check out my website, thewillingequine.com. If you like this podcast or this episode, please do leave feedback on the platform that you listen to it on.